Welcome to the Hot Button Sports Show. I'm your host, Isaac Lane. And today we have another full episode number 5. And we got a lot to get into in this episode. We're going to talk about some college football, how money's destroying boxing unlike any other sport. Is Chris Paul really a point guard? And Brett Farve has something to say about politics. Thanks for joining the Hot Button Sports Show. Do me a favor before we get into everything today. Like this video, share this video, and consider subscribing so you can get notified every time the Hot Button drops a video. This week has been exciting. There has been some breaking news. And we want to get into it. There's a lot to talk about. But what better place to start than college football, especially with the draft being on the horizon. But I want to kind of start offbeat as it relates to college football. About a month ago, maybe a little bit over a month ago, Tavon Austin released, I believe it was via Twitter or Instagram, the most exciting college football players ever. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything because it sucked. I don't think it had anybody from the 80s, or maybe it had one person from the 80s on his most exciting college football players list, and very few people from the 1990s. I really didn't understand that list. That list was specifically for those 25 and under. I'm not that old, but I'm way older than 25. And so I've decided to put together a responsible list of the most exciting college football players since the 1980s. We're going 40 years, from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. And we're listing the most exciting college football players for every decade, starting with the 1980s. Let me know in the comments if you agree. Who's your most exciting college football player or players for every decade going back as far as the 1980s? Now, disclaimer, this is not a list of the best college football players for every decade. If we're talking the best, that's a totally different list. We're not talking about the best. We're specifically talking about the most exciting, the most electrifying college football players for each decade. There's not going to be a lot of commentary for this list. I'm just going to put the list out. All right, let's start with the 80s. Let's go way back. The most exciting college football players of the 80s. Deion Sanders. This is in no particular order. Deion Sanders, Barry Sanders, Rocket Ishmael, and Doug Flutie. I don't think there's any arguments there. Maybe there's somebody you might want to add to the list, but Deion Sanders, game changer. Barry Sanders, game changer. Rocket Ishmael, game changer. And Doug Flutie was excitement 2.0. Those are the most exciting college football players for the 80s. Now let's move on to the 90s. The 90s, in my opinion, is the greatest era of football. Greatest era of football. That's my humble opinion. And so this list is longer. Actually, the list of the 2000s is longer as well. But the greatest era of college football, especially college football, in my opinion, were the 1990s. Here are the most exciting college football players of the 90s. Drum roll, please. Tommy Frazier, Peter Warrick, Jerome Bettis, Marshall Faulk, Charlie Ward, Steve Air McNair, and here's a defensive player, Warren Sapp. I think everyone I named before Warren Sapp speaks for itself. Tommy Frazier, 2-time champion. Peter Warrick, really? Jerome Bettis, I never say nothing like it. A big guy, that belly fat hanging out, with that shirt, with the cutoff jersey, running wild. Marshall Faulk, one of the best college football running backs ever. Charlie Ward, come on, man. The dude was you loved watching Florida State because of Charlie Ward. Air McNair didn't get a lot of, doesn't always get a lot of fame because he played for HBCU, played for Alcorn State. But man, his senior year, the numbers he put up his senior year, I think he had 58 total touchdowns. Man, he was exciting. A big quarterback. He was big. One of the first really big, burly black quarterbacks we had ever seen. And then Warren Sapp. People forget Warren Sapp could have, some might argue should have, won the Heisman Trophy. He was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Warren Sapp changed games. A lot of times you watched Miami during that era to watch the defense. And specifically, your eyes were on Warren Sapp. Most exciting players of the 90s. Now, most exciting college football players of the 2000s. The 2000s, the not so distant past. The 2000s. Here we go. Michael Vick. Percy Harvin. Reggie Bush. Vince Young. Tim Tebow. And one guy that we forgot about, Maurice Claret. Maurice Claret was a monster. He got into issues with college about trying to come out early, but Maurice Claret was a wrecking ball. Maurice Claret for The Ohio State University was running rampant. I mean, Maurice Claret was a game changer. Maurice Claret, in my opinion, single-handedly won that national championship against Miami. Y'all remember when the quarterback threw the interception? He hawked him, I believe it was in overtime, stripped the ball to get the ball back, and I believe that was actually the game-winning drive. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But Maurice Claret was a beast, a game changer. We forget about him because of his off-the-field issues and the whole issue he had, the whole battle that he had with the NCAA. But you talk about must-see TV. Maurice Claret is definitely one of the most exciting college football players ever, and for sure, one of the most exciting college football players of the 2000s. All right, last but not least, the most exciting college football players of the 2010s. The 2010s. Here it is, man. I'll be honest, I'm still developing the list for the 2010s because it's so fresh. I only got 4. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, whenever you break a Barry Sanders record, yeah, you're up there. Lamar Jackson. Oh, my goodness. Every single year, every single game, Lamar Jackson was that dude. Jabril Peppers. Michigan, safety. Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers was a game changer. A game changer. And I believe he returned kicks as well. Jabril Peppers changed games. He was exciting to watch. And then Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley was like one of the smoothest running backs I've seen since that era in the 90s. He wasn't as game-breaking as a Reggie Bush or even a C-Mac, Christian McCaffrey, but man, it was a joy to watch Saquon Barkley play football. So that's it. Now, that's a responsible list. Whether you agree or disagree, that was responsible. Because you have representation from every decade, right? From every generation. It's hard to put these lists together of just the top 10. Come on, man, because there's some ballers in the 80s, some ballers in the 90s, man. You can't just have everybody from the 2010s and the 2000s. So that's a responsible list. So somebody share this with Tavon Austin. Tell them this is how you put together a responsible list. Now, if I had to just pick one from each decade going back to the 80s, here's who it would be. Barry Sanders, Peter Warrick, Tim Tebow. Gotta pick Tebow from the 2000s, man. Talking about excitement. We're not talking about the best. Because Percy Harvin was a better, and Reggie Bush are better collegiate players, in my opinion, better skill set than Tim Tebow. But exciting? Ah, man. Tim Tebow played with so much passion and excitement. Tebow. And then from the 2010s, Lamar Jackson, man. Lamar Jackson's numbers are gaudy. You hear me? So, yeah, that's it. The most exciting college football players for every decade going back for 40 years. Now, let's switch the flow up a little bit. And let's talk boxing. One of my favorite sports. Let's talk boxing. I have a problem with the boxing world, and I've had it for a while. So I want to use this as my opportunity to air my frustrations. And I have a funny feeling and a sneaky suspicion that you have the same frustrations with the sport of boxing right now. Here it is. Money, in my opinion, is destroying boxing unlike any other sport. Money is destroying boxing unlike any other sport. Money and the pursuit of money is destroying boxing unlike any other sport. What do you mean, Isaac? Here's what I mean. The NBA players receiving more money, fatter contracts, longer contracts, has not, in my opinion, tainted the talent that we see, the talent and the competition that we see on the court. Now, you can argue and say this generation, isn't as hardcore as the previous generation. And I understand that argument. I'm getting that. But when we tune in, the money, the fact that LeBron James is $150 million, Steph Curry is getting $250 million, we're seeing great matchups. We're seeing great talent being exposed on the court. The money hasn't affected it. In fact, you could say that it has affected it, but in a positive manner. Money hasn't really tainted the sport of football. It really hasn't. The money has the money has incentivized the play on the field to be even better. I mean, we are seeing talent like we've never seen before in football and the NBA. Once again, you may have the argument as far as they may not be as tough as previous generations, and I get that. I'm not here to argue with that. I'm specifically talking about talent and competition. It's at an all-time high. And just imagine, this is a whole nother conversation, but just imagine when they start paying college players. Oh, because it's coming. Bring the money. College players should get paid. But this money, man, hasn't tainted the sport. And you may be one of those that say, yes, it has. But even if you think it hasn't diluted and tainted the sport as much as money has messed up boxing. Now, first, let me say, I agree with Andre Berto. He has a podcast. I think it's called the Square Up Podcast, where he says, boxers should get paid because they're risking their life. I agree. I was an amateur boxer at once. I know what it feels like to get your head beat in. Yes, so I can only imagine what professionals go through and went through. Boxers should get paid, and they should get paid top dollar. But golly, Jimmy Crickets, should it be at the expense of destroying the sport? Let me help. Maybe you don't understand what I'm saying. Because of the money, now we have boxers, and I think it really started with Floyd. Now we have boxers who won't fight other boxers because of the money. Are you serious? And to me, the latest in this is Bud Crawford. Bud, if you watch this, get your money, man. I'm not saying that, but god dang, bro. We don't want to see you fight Manny Pacquiao, bro. Manny Pacquiao, 137 years old, bro. We don't want to see that. You might kill Pacquiao. And then if Pacquiao luck up and beat you, we know he can't beat you twice or 3 times. So now we stuck in watching y'all fight 3 times over the course of 5 years for nothing. We don't want to see that. You know who we want. We want to see Bud Crawford fight Earl Spence. And I don't know how true the report is, but the report was that, they were at a deadlock 50-50. Bud wasn't trying to do it. And then Earl was like, you can get 60%. And Bud still ain't trying to fight him. Man, I just don't like it, bro. I just don't like it, bro. I wish boxing, the mentality would just go back to the old days, man. If there's a way, get your money, but fight the best. Champions need to fight champions. The best need to fight the best, bruh. Come on, man. Sugar Ray fought Marvin Hagler. Tommy Hearns fought Sugar Ray. Ali and Frazier fought. Hell, when Tyson came back, he fought Lennox Lewis. He fought Evander Holyfield. You know what I'm saying, man? I mean, I just don't get it. Y'all let me know what you feel in the comments, man. I love boxing, man. It's one of my favorite sports. Man, I'm up the hill right now. I'm coming down the hill, so, you know, I'm older, but I still got them things. It's my favorite sport, man. But I just get frustrated when the best fighters don't fight each other, and then they take forever to fight. They take forever to fight. They be fighting like 18 months in advance, 18-month intermissions and stuff, man. Come on. Here's what I'm not saying you shouldn't get your money. Get as much money as you can. But at some point, man, God, dog, there got to be something that kick in that say, you know what, man, I'm gonna put my nuts on the table, and you know what I'm saying? We gonna fight. We gonna fight. We gonna fight. Long as it's fair. Long as the compensation is fair. Let's get in the ring and fight, man. To me, there's no excuse why Tyson Fury ain't defended that belt. Why Tyson Fury ain't fighting right now, bro. You know, and I think that the Anthony Joshua is probably gonna happen, but that should have been happened. Deontay Wilder should have been fought Joshua. Joshua should have been fought Fury. What's going on with y'all, man? We want to see the best fight the best. So that's my problem with boxing. And I don't know if is the issue the promoters. Check out my interview with Nate Campbell on this channel, former world champion, former 3-time world champion. And, you know, I talked to him about, does boxing need like a commissioner like other sports like the NBA and NFL? Would that help deal with it all? I don't know. Is it the promoters? Is it the trainers? Is it the boxers themselves? I mean, is it the big camps? Is Golden Boy Promotions has become a behemoth? Is that the issue? I don't know what the issue is, bro. Is it mob ties? Don't know what it is, but whatever it is, I don't think it's good for the sport. The best need to fight the best, and the best should be fighting the best, and it should be a time frame in which these fights should take place, man. That's what I really believe. Once again, y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. Is money maintaining the sport of boxing unlike any other sport? I believe it is. All right, a lot going on in the NBA. A lot of excitement going on in the NBA. But there's a specific NBA player I want to talk about who I actually enjoy watching. I love his game. I love his support for historical black colleges and universities. And that's Chris Paul. CP3, if you really know him. Chris Paul, I think, is one of the best point guards in the league and one of the best point guards the NBA has ever seen. But I'm sick and I am tired of Chris Paul being labeled with this distinction. Can y'all please quit calling CP3 the point guard? Judge your mama. I don't know. Chris Paul is not a point guard. One of the top point guards to ever play the sport? Yeah. One of the best playing right now? Yeah. Is he a MVP candidate for this year? Oh, God, yes. But a point guard? Chris Paul is not that. He ain't that. Chris Paul has an awesome resume. Every team he's been on, he's upgraded their level of play. The Hornets, the Clippers, the Rockets, the Thunder, the Suns. He has gotten them to a higher level each year. And every year, he's been in the NBA uniform. His teams have benefited greatly from him being on the court. But can we stop? And I think we give out these titles. We so cheap. Our standards are so freaking low. We just name and call everybody the greatest, the best, or clutch, or the point guard. And here's my argument. Brother, you can't have the term God connected to your name and you've never played for a championship. How can you be a god of anything and you've never played on the biggest stage? And Chris Paul has had some good teams. Don't give me that crap about that. About him not having a good team. Do you remember that team that Allen Iverson led to the NBA Finals and actually won a game against the Kobe, Shaq Lakers? He had an old Dikembe Mutombo and Eric Snow as a sidekick. Google him. And he still took the 76ers to the finals and beat the Lakers one game. He got there. You can't be a point guard and you ain't even at least got there. Isaiah Thomas got there and won. Towards the end of his career, Jason Kidd got chipped up. Come on, brother. Are our standards that low? If you're really that great, you're really that good. Come on, man. You got to get your team at least to the big dance. LeBron James, was that 07? He had crap. He had Delonte West. He had Mo Williams. And he took that squad to the finals. He at least got out of his conference. We've never seen, and I'm not saying you got to win, but you got to get there, bro. You got to get there. Chris Paul has not even got there. He has to get there. He is no point guard, in my opinion, until he at least makes an appearance in the finals. Which is my issue with Damian Lillard. He's clutch in the regular season, but that's about it. Come on, man. You can't be 20 and 36 in the playoffs and you want me to just say that you're the most clutch player in the NBA. No, you're not. And no, Chris Paul is not a point guard until he proves it in the playoffs, man. Until he gets over that hump. Y'all let me know how you feel in the comments. I know a lot of y'all not going to agree. I don't care. As I said earlier, the draft is upon us. And I have a lot of opinions about the draft. Next week, we're actually going to get into some draft picks. Some picks that I believe that teams and organizations should roll with and go against the grain of what's been reported that they want to, the picks that they want to go with. But just thinking about reviewing the analytics and the statistics about this draft, there is an event that is, in my opinion, blown out of proportion each and every single year. And here it is. Pro days. NFL or college pro days are overrated. Did you hear what I said? Pro days are without a question overrated. Now, I'm just like you. I'm a fan. I love to see them run the 40. I love to see the bench press. I love to see them go through the cone drills. I love to see them run the shuttle. I love to see that quarterback get back there and throw those routes he's been rehearsing with those wide receivers for weeks and months. I love to see it. You get a chance to see some things. But let me explain why pro days are overrated. Pro days are overrated simply because whatever you do on pro day can never justify what you were unable to do on game day. Pause. You heard what I said. What a college football player is somehow able to do, how he's able to perform on pro day, does not justify his inability to perform on game day. Speed and power that is displayed on pro day does not always translate to speed and power on game day. Here's what I mean. You're at your pro day and you're a quarterback and you're throwing spot on spirals. You're getting in front of the receiver just enough for him to have that momentum, get that separation. You're throwing spot on passes, man. Your footwork is there. Everything is there. That's good. That's straight. But that doesn't justify how you looked on game day. I mean, with no defensive backs, with no linemen in your grill, with no, distractions of fans or anything like that, man, it's a lot easier to look effective and impressive on a game day where you don't have a 5-star defensive back guarding your wide receiver. Hell, I can throw a pretty doggone good 10-yard slant if ain't nobody guarding my receiver. I might get invited to somebody's team to try out if they were to come in my backyard and see me throw a 10-yard slant to my 6-year-old son. They'll be like, ooh. I can get on the bench press and throw up 225 a couple times. But I cannot move an offensive lineman out of the way. Just because you can bench press 225 a bunch and you can jump out the gym doesn't mean you can move a blocker out of the way to make that tackle. So, to me, I think pro days are overrated. You may run a 4-3 or 4-4 flat in the 40. But on the game film, you were getting hawked every time you had a breakaway. Am I saying they should get rid of pro days? No, but what I'm saying is they're overrated. We put too much stock in the pro day. How many players have we seen they didn't pass the test on film? They passed the test on pro day. They get drafted way higher than they should have, and we never heard of them again. Just the first player that comes to mind, and I ain't picking on nobody, Drew Archer. I think his name was Drew Archer. I think he's from Appalachian State. Drew Archer. Had never heard of the guy. He did his pro day a few years back, ran like a 4.3 something, got drafted in the 3rd round, really should have been a 6th round pick or a free agent pickup, and then we've never heard of him. I don't even know if he's still in the NFL. Drew Archer. Pro days are overrated. Then you get a guy like Tom Brady. Not a good pro day by any stretch of the imagination. Greatest football player of all time. I'm just saying, man. Whatever a guy does on his pro day, that doesn't somehow dispel what he did on game day. I'm not really concerned about your pro day. What I'm most concerned about pro day is, okay, let's get official measurements. How tall are you? How much do you weigh? And what does your lateral quickness kind of look like? That's about it. But as far as your throwing, as far as if you're running back, your ability to make people miss in the open field, all that shows up on your film, buddy. Whatever you do on pro day has nothing to do with what you did on game day. All right? We should not judge a football player based upon his pro day, no matter how good or how bad. We should judge a football player based on the film that he produced on game day. Pro days is stretching and calisthenics. That ain't football, baby. Staying with football, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers picked up Giovanni Bernard. I don't think it was a huge pickup, like landing one of the best backs in the league. I don't think it was that. But for the team and for what they're trying to accomplish, the Buccaneers have their eyes on a repeat. This was a damn good pickup. Simply because of what Giovanni Bernard can provide for that team specifically. He's going to come in with a specific role. Bernard is going to be who we wanted Shady McCoy to be. Buccaneers wanted Shady McCoy to be that guy who could come in on third down, catch passes out of the backfield, make the first guy miss, get about 6-7 yards per carry, whether that's a third down run or whether if that's, or just get the first down, whether that's a third down run or whether it's that a catch coming out of the backfield. Shady McCoy's down the field. He's down the hill. He was too old. He's a little washed. We weren't able to get that kind of production out of him. We can get that. The Buccaneers can get that with the Giovanni Bernard. Now remember, Giovanni Bernard was able to put up decent numbers and look decent in a horrible system with a horrible team. The Cincinnati Bengals suck. And he was able to, somewhat stand out. Now you put him in a legitimate championship culture with the greatest quarterback ever, with one of the best, if not the best offensive line, and he doesn't have the pressure of being the first or second option as the running back. So we're talking about fresh legs, fresh perspective, and the desire to win a championship, which all combined, I believe we're going to see the best version of Giovanni Bernard the NFL has ever seen. Another reason why it was a great pickup is because now Tom Brady can really enjoy what we really saw him enjoy to do when he was in Foxborough. And that is dink and donk to the running back. Getting the ball to your running backs out of the backfield. He loved doing that with Falk. He loved doing that with James White. And now he gets a chance to do that with one of the most underrated pass catching backs in the league, Giovanni Bernard. It's just another weapon that the Buccaneers have, and we know that they're going to use him because it's reported that Tom Brady and Bruce Arians double teamed Bernard to get him to Tampa. Now, we know if Tom Brady wants you, he's not only going to get you, but he's going to use you, and you're going to come through in the clutch when you're needed the most. I think that was a good sign. I don't see any bad signings from the Buccaneers during this offseason. Y'all let me know how you feel in the comments. Although Giovanni Bernard is not what I would call a splash free agent signing, definitely meets a team need because they need a good pass catcher out of the back. I mean, Leonard Fournette dropped some passes. Rojo was dropping passes. Giovanni Bernard is not going to be dropping passes like that. And Giovanni Bernard brings much needed wiggle, speed, but most importantly, pass catching ability out of the backfield for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. This is going to be a joy to watch. It's going to be a joy to watch. I think we're going to see a lot more shorter passes being completed and yards after catch this season with the addition of Giovanni Bernard and with a healthy O.J. Howard. People sleep on O.J. Howard. You got Grump, you got Break. O.J. being healthy, oh my goodness. There's no reason why we should not lead the league in third down completions. Third down conversions. No reason why. The Bucs have everything in front of them, and it's going to be hard stopping them. Sticking with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I don't believe that they haven't signed, as of this recording, they have not signed Antonio Brown. As a Bucs fan, you know I'm a Bucs fan. If you've been watching the show, you know I'm a Bucs fan. That's my squad. As a Bucs fan, I want Antonio Brown. I want him back. I think he shows up when he's needed the most. After his playoff performance and after that Super Bowl performance, you can officially attach the term clutch to Antonio Brown's name. He's clutch. He feels a need of depth. I think he would be great for our slot. I know he's better than Scotty Miller. Although Scotty Miller may be a better fit, a better team fit. See, that's what people don't understand. You can be a better player, but are you good for the team fit? I think Antonio Brown is a great team fit. I want him. I want him here for depth. I want him here because Brady likes him to keep that chemistry, and I think he's going to go down as one of the best wide receivers as far as talent wise. And now that resume is building up that the NFL has ever seen. And so yes, I want Antonio Brown. But I don't know if the feelings are mutual. I don't know how much money he's looking for. But whatever it is, at the time of this recording, Antonio Brown is not signed. I believe he will re-up with the Bucs. But here are a few teams that I believe will be a good fit for Antonio Brown going forward. I want to see Antonio Brown succeed. I want to see him get his money. And here are some good team fits. The Los Angeles Rams. I had to pause it. I almost said the St. Louis Rams. The Los Angeles Rams, man. They got that defense over there. They got a new quarterback in Matthew Stafford. They got Sean McVay. I believe they got Kupp over there. I don't know if they still got Cooks over there. I believe they got Woods. Man, they got some talent over there with the Rams. And if you add, he will be a go-to receiver in my opinion. Along Cooper, along Kupp. He will be a go-to receiver in LA. And him with Stafford, Cam Akers out the backfield, I believe that'd be a good fit. We know Sean McVay likes to air it out. This is a guy that beat the Chiefs a few years ago, 74-72. I believe it was a Monday Night Football. This is a guy who not only loves to air it out, but knows how. And now he doesn't have Jared Goff throwing the ball. You got Matthew Stafford. Say what you want about Matthew Stafford. The boy ain't no scrub. He just played for one of the worst organizations in sports. And that was one of the most disappointing organizations in sports. And that's the Detroit Lions. Another good team, be a good fit, the Baltimore Ravens. Hollywood Brown, Antonio Brown, I believe they're cousins. Lamar Jackson. I could see it working. I could definitely see it working. I mean, who you going to guard? Who you going to double team? Because whatever cornerback on whatever team, your cornerback too slow to not double Antonio. And you're not good enough to not double Antonio Brown. Unless you're, talking about Jalen Ramsey. You're not good enough to not double Antonio Brown if he's the main wide receiver. And you're not fast enough to not give some extra attention to Hollywood Brown. And then one that might be probably the best fit, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson is a guy who likes to throw the ball outside of the pocket. Antonio Brown knows how to extend plays with the quarterback. We saw him do that week in and week out with Ben Roethlisberger, who is a scrambling king. I think he would mesh well over there. They got Tyler Lockett over there. They got DK Metcalf. Man, I think he would excel in the slot. That's another situation. Who the hell do you double? Tyler Lockett is going to get his, but my goodness, you have to double Metcalf, and then you got Antonio Brown in the slot. Man, that's nightmarish. And then you got Carson out the backfield, who's no slouch, pass catching out the backfield. That'd be a good fit. But I think it's probably 1B. To me, 1A is Tampa Bay Buccaneers, simply because of everything I just mentioned about the Seattle Seahawks. who do you guard? Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. You got to double. You got to double one of them. And so if you're doubling one, you can't double Antonio Brown coming in the slot. And then a lot of packages, you'll have Scotty Miller. And you can run 4 wide. Scotty, AB, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think the best fit for Antonio Brown would be either the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or the Seattle Seahawks. We had some exciting college news. One of my favorite running backs, Eddie George, has agreed to become the new head coach, Tennessee State University, historical black college and university. And he's bringing legendary coach Jeff Fisher along with him. Can we just stop, pause, celebrate, and say, wow, what a pickup. Good job, TSU. I think Eddie George is going to do a pretty good job. And I saw Deion Sanders come out and say it. He said, he doesn't want to start a trend. He's not saying it's a trend, but there are other players such as Ray Lewis and Ed Reed who want to coach, and specifically coach for historical black colleges. I think it's a great thing, man. I think it's a wonderful move. I would like to see it happen more. But 2 things I'll say about this. Number one, just because you have a former NFL coach or NFL player and a former NFL coach coming to the HBCU ranks does not mean that Tennessee State University is going to just overnight become this unstoppable force. People thought that was going to be the case with JSU, and we see it's not. You're still dealing with recruits who need to be developed. You're not dealing with the best recruits in the state or the best recruits in the nation. These NFL players, when they start coaching in these HBCUs, they have to really focus on player development. And I believe it's going to have to come with a great deal of patience. There's some ballers in HBCUs. We know that all across. But the expectation that these teams are going to become dynasties because they have these coaches, I think is a little unrealistic. Could it happen over time? Of course. But it's going to take time, but I think it's good. And I think that this will begin to develop a pipeline, a serious pipeline for top recruits coming from high school to HBCUs. I would love to see it. I would love to see Ray Lewis at a squad. We'd love to see Ed Reed coaching a squad, HBCUs, man. Getting the African-American players, kind of back to our roots, getting them to those historical black colleges and universities. But don't get it twisted. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot you're going to have to fight to get these kids not to go to Clemson, not to go to Florida State, not to go to Miami, not to go to Alabama, not to go to Georgia, not to go to Notre Dame. There's going to be a lot of selling that Eddie George, Jeff Fisher, Deion Sanders and his staff, and if other former professional football players want to go to the HBCU ranks, there's going to be a lot of selling and recruiting that they are going to have to do to convince these kids to come and play for them. And I think one of the things that they could use is, you get a chance to trailblaze not just a trend, but a legacy. I didn't go to an HBCU. I have friends who have. And man, the legacy that you get a chance to be a part of and create by being a part of one goes a very long way. And I believe that could be a great sales pitch, if you will, to get these kids to come play for them. If you've attended an HBCU, let me know in the comments, man. And let me know, how do you think Eddie George, Jeff Fisher, Deion Sanders, for their respective teams, can go about recruiting high school football players to come and play, to turn down P5 offers to come and play for schools like Jackson State and Tennessee State? And most importantly, how is it beneficial to the players to come and play for an HBCU? Now technology is to where you don't have to be at the biggest school to get picked up, to go to the NFL, to get drafted. Talent makes noise. Talent makes noise. If you're talented, eyes will be on you. So I think that is definitely a benefit for these new coaches at these HBCUs. But I love it. I love it, man. I want to see it continuing to happen. if my son decides to play a sport and he's any good at it, I would definitely entertain going to an HBCU. Once again, I'm learning more about it. Y'all let me know in the comments how you guys feel about HBCUs and how HBCUs can capitalize on these big name coaches coming to the program and getting recruits. Going back to the game of basketball. Y'all caught that game? When was it? On Saturday? Was it Saturday or Sunday? Y'all caught that game? I believe it was Saturday. Them Brooklyn Nets. I got a video on the channel called The Crooklyn Nets against them Lakers. Y'all saw that? Hey, man, I ain't mad at the Nets, man. The Nets got a good squad. The Nets, to me, is the best on paper. It's the best big three we've ever seen. It's not going to be the best big three on the court, though. To me, the best big three is Splash Brothers and KD. But it is they got a good squad, man. But they ain't making it out the East. And they just lost to the Sixers at the time of this recording. 123 to 117. And let me tell you why they ain't going to make it out the East. And even if they do make it out the East, they ain't getting chipped up. Here's why. The Nets will lose a series if they play a team in the playoffs with a legitimate big man. If you have a legitimate big man, you're going to beat I almost called it New Jersey Nets. You're going to beat the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets can't handle a big man. They got two old wannabe big mans and LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin, who, are getting their lunch ate by legitimate big men. Embiid killed them last night. Andre Drummond made them look soft and old, which I believe they are. But if you have a legitimate big man, what the hell? What are the Nets going to do with you? What are the Nets going to do with you? They sacrificed all of the competence that they had in the paint to get James Harden. They have no answer for anybody, any legit. Going to dominate Blake Griffin. Is going to dominate LaMarcus Aldridge. Let's go through it. Let's start with the West, just in case, which I don't think they are, but just in case they slip through the cracks in the East and make it. Can't stop Yoke. Won't be able to stop Cantor, just in case Portland. Healthy Serge Ibaka will eat him up. Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond from the Lakers will destroy them. And they won't be able to do nothing with Rudy Gobert. Nothing. I don't see it. Now, let's talk about the East. I don't see them beating Giannis in the 7-game series. They have no answer. And I don't see them beating Embiid. Man, Embiid looked like a possessed monster on them boys last night. I think they built the team wrong. And then they don't have a defensive enforcer. I was talking with a friend the other day, and who was the last team to win a championship without a defensive enforcer? It's the Miami Heat. But that was because they had a 27-year-old LeBron James. You don't need nobody else as far as a defensive enforcer. And you had a Dwayne Wade, man. But that was the last squad to win without a defensive enforcer. The Spurs, Kawhi Leonard. Raptors, Kawhi Leonard. The Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. Come on, man. Cleveland Cavaliers, Tristan Thompson. Come on, man. If they do win this year, man, they have broke the mold of everything. That means they will win it with no defense. They'll win it with no legit big man, and they'll win it without a legit defensive enforcer. The Brooklyn Nets, to me, are built to entertain. They're built to make you say, wow, but they're not built to win a championship. And then who's going to lead this team? Where's the leadership coming from? If you're looking at Kyrie Irving to lead your team on or off the court, you can forget about it. You're screwed. If you're looking for KD to lead your team, I think he'll be better off as a social media strategist. You're screwed. James Harden? Nah. Soon as stuff get tough in the playoffs, he's going to check out just like he did in Houston. Listen to what I'm trying to tell you guys. Location don't change your mentality, man. Location don't change your mentality, bro. They don't change your mentality. Not going to change your mentality. They are who they are. Great to watch. I'm going to watch them every time they're on primetime TV. But there's no way Brooklyn Nets wins a championship because they do not have a legit defensive enforcer, and they cannot stop a team who has a legit big man. Y'all let me know how you feel in the comments. One of my favorite football players retired this week. I believe it was actually yesterday. Julian Edelman. He's one of my favorite because of the comeback he helped lead against the team I hate with a passion, and that is the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, I remember that. 28-3? Came back, had a bunch of catches that resulted in the nail in the coffin for that team and organization. But just a great overall player. From what I know, pretty good guy, pretty good dude. A competitor, man, a great competitor. Got a chance to hear him mic'd up telling the story of that Super Bowl. What was it, Super Bowl 53, Super Bowl 52? When they played the Atlanta Falcons. And, man, you talk about somebody who's a competitor. That's Julian, man. Julian Edelman. Julian is a top-notch competitor. Great player, like I said, from what I've read, from what I've heard. Great guy, had great chemistry with the greatest quarterback ever, Tom Brady. Played for a Class A organization from top to bottom. He checks all the marks as a great guy, very good football player. But for all that Julian Edelman is, he is not an NFL Hall of Famer. Stop it. Julian Edelman is not a Hall of Fame wide receiver. I'm not even going to let you. I'm not going to get in my feelings about this. I'm just going to say this. Let me just hear my commentary. First of all, let's go. Let me say this. If Julian Edelman gets into the Hall of Fame before Sterling Sharp, I am done with the HOF. I'm done. To me, if that happens, the Hall of Fame don't mean a hill of beans. And those on the selection committee should be fired and arrested. If Julian Edelman gets in the Hall of Fame before Sterling Sharp. Julian Edelman got drafted in 2009, played 11, 12 years. Julian Edelman finishes his career with 620 catches, 6,822 yards, 36 touchdowns, 3 Super Bowls. Sterling Sharp played 7 seasons, 595 catches, 8,134 catches, 65 touchdowns, and produced one of the greatest seasons. His last season was one of the greatest seasons for a receiver that we've ever seen. And he ain't in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he don't got no Super Bowl. How many wide receivers in the freaking Hall of Fame ain't got no doggone Super Bowls? Miss me with that, man. Chris Carter ain't got no Super Bowl. Randy Moss ain't got no Super Bowl. Megatron ain't got no Super Bowl. So miss me with that. And don't act like Julian Edelman got his Super Bowls because he was Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman got his Super Bowls because he played with the greatest quarterback to ever put on cleats and a helmet, Tom Brady. You don't even know the names of the quarterbacks Sterling Sharp played with. But he still put up ridiculous numbers. If Julian Edelman gets in the Hall of Fame before Sterling Sharp, to me, the Hall of Fame loses every ounce of its validity. Every ounce. Every ounce. If that happens, I'm going to start a campaign called Bump the Hall of Fame. Bump the NFL Hall of Fame. Edelman, great player, but he should not get in, especially over Sterling Sharp. To me, that's not a Hall of Fame career. Sterling Sharp, in those 7 years, had a Hall of Fame career. Speaking of Sterling Sharp, he played for the Green Bay Packers. There's a Green Bay Packer legend who was in the news lately, actually yesterday. Brett Farve made a statement. Brett Farve says, first of all, Brett Farve talking about politics is laughable, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, Brett Farve says that he doesn't want to watch sports and be notified or reminded about what's going on in politics. He doesn't watch sports for that. Spoken like a true, all-American, privileged white male. Of course, you want to watch or you enjoy watching sports without being reminded of the social ills. Maybe it's because the ills that are taking place in society have nothing to do with your zip code, have nothing to do with your family tree, and have nothing to do with your life in general. Spoken like a true, all-American, privileged white man. If it's not affecting me, I really don't want to hear. You have the luxury and the privilege to just completely zone out and not think about it at all. Black people, we don't got that privilege. Black people, we already suffer from a lack of representation, and we already are always looking for people, voices of the culture, to use their platform to put eyes on the issues that are taking place in our society and taking place in our communities and in our neighborhoods. So therefore, we actually love to see when our athletes marry their athleticism with activism. We love to see it when they use their platform to speak truth to power, to bring awareness to issues that white men like you, Brett Favre, just want to zone out and forget about. Another issue I have with this is why we didn't hear this whole issue on sports and politics when 9/11 happened. I didn't hear anything from Brett Favre going, to turn into media, releasing any statements, talking about he has an issue with sports and politics when 9/11 happened. I didn't hear anything from Brett Favre when Timothy Tebow was on the sidelines taking knees to bring awareness to and to boycott abortion. But now, Mr. Farve has got an issue. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not the most woke person in society. But maybe Brett Favre has an issue with this sports and politics stuff because the perpetrators of the crimes against people in our community look like him. Come again, say what? Maybe Mr. Favre has a problem with all of this activism in sports because the athletes are leading the charge of activism and trying to bring awareness to crimes that are taking place where black people are the victims, but the perpetrators, the people carrying out the crimes, look like Brett Favre. White males. I don't think Brett Favre would have an issue with activism in athletics if white kids were being murdered in the streets by the hands of black cops. Nah. Him and his little white church that he goes to, they would be leading the charge for it. You know, if the different issues in voting with the MLB, if it affected his demographic, he wouldn't be saying nothing. But since it doesn't, he don't want to care about it. He wants to completely zone out. Well, you go ahead and zone out. But I pray it's not on the NFL's dimes or the MLB's dime or the NBA's dime. I pray that players, no matter their color, will continue to use their athleticism as a platform for activism. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. Thank y'all for joining episode 5 of The Hot Button. I'm all out of time, but I'm never out of commentary. I holla at you.